What's happening? What's happening, guys? Back on the Treadmill Talks. We got most of the bioprints done at the Firehouse. Saw a lot of really good improvements. So from the last time I measured, average body fat was around 22.7%, and now we're down to 20.1% on average of 220 guys. So it's pretty good. We're working our way. I'd like to get an average of below 20%. If you look at a lot of the data and research on the body fat percentages, 26% and above, every percent above increases, and these numbers aren't exactly correct, but they're close, increases each injury premium by like $1,800. It's crazy to see these fire department research papers talking about, the more overweight somebody is, obviously, the more severe their injuries are. And then also the more cost is incurred by the townships on medications and things of that nature. Because the big difference with training the fire service compared to the military, which is, kind of how I got into the fire service, is that these guys are in the profession for 30 plus years. What's going on, Lars? Lars does fitness. What's happening, man? Not too bad, buddy. Not too bad. Just up at the Firehouse, getting ready to train the firemen at 8 o'clock. I usually try to get in half an hour early and do a walk, and then come on Treadmill Talk live for a little bit. Try not to attract too many fucking weirdos. But yeah, doing good, man. How about you? I think the big thing that we have to work on up here now is just doing smarter training drills, fire specific stuff, which I'm not in control of. That's where we're seeing a lot of our injuries here and there. It's just guys get tired. Daddy Trump make America great again with the new tariffs. I don't know. I can't even watch the news anymore. I was hoping that the economy would do better once he got into office, and I think everybody was hopeful. And as of right now, it's not really gotten any better for sure. But yeah, everything's cyclical. Everything's cyclical. Got some tips on my squat deadlift progressions from Oreb yesterday, so I'm bussing. Oreb, who's Oreb? But yeah, it's weird. Yeah, the economy, I think, right now, the fitness community for sure is really hurting. I was Australian strength coach. Yeah, man, he's awesome, dude. He's cool. I know him pretty well. Very smart guy. Like a lot of us, we don't agree on everything, but I think overall his knowledge is very good. So that's awesome. You're getting some information from him. If you get stuck again or whatever, let me know, and I can do an assessment on you as well, see what's going on. Let's see. Yeah, I think the entire fitness community right now is kind of in the hurt locker for sure. I talked to a guy a couple of days ago. It's a chiropractor, so it's similar field roughly. And he's saying the same thing. He said 4 or 5 of his friends have already closed down their business. Is forcing people to make wise decisions about what matters most about their spending habits. Yeah, I could agree with that in some aspects, I suppose. I think it's it's difficult. I see working at the car dealership with their diesel mechanics. You can see a lot of things slowing at the car lots, and I think the problem is a trickle-down effect. When the economy's good and everybody's spending money, I think that it keeps everything rolling. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Definitely more of a pinch right now, for sure, for almost everybody. We've seen it in the fitness industry happen a little bit faster. I think kind of follows along the line isn't super ideal for advanced athlete in men's open weight class. No, it's not. I mean, honestly, most available programming on the internet sucks, really, in general. And a lot of it's just because you got to have a real eye for, people's weaknesses, how their technique's working. Periodization and programming is not as easy as people want to make it out to be. Intensity is only a small factor. So it's tough. But, yeah, so I agree with that. But back on the fire department stuff, we're really fortunate up here at the departments I work at because we have all the right equipment. We have better equipment than most large commercial gyms. We don't have the square footage, but we have the right stuff to reduce the injuries, and that's what matters, and increase the performance. I think on average, if you were to go around most of the fire departments around the country and do an average strength test, you would not be impressed at all. And a lot of it's just because once those guys get hired in, they really don't have any standard that they have to maintain. What's going on, Trent? What's going on, Derek? Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I've worked really hard up here for the last 17, 18 years to get all the right stuff and get the guys the right information. And it's been a journey for sure. Hopefully we can keep the tactical community growing and getting better. It's difficult. I know a couple of my departments had levy issues, and that's the problem with fitness is I think in the general, even in the normal general population, most people, when the economy goes bad or gets difficult, everybody looks at working out or fitness and health choices like not a priority. They look at it as like a luxury. And in reality, you should be focusing on that at all times. Always trying to improve cardiovascular health, strength, which I'm a big fan of Dr. Gabriel Lyon, always talking about getting people stronger. Muscle mass is super important. But I think the problem is there's a tipping scale too. You have too much muscle mass, body has to work harder, kidneys have to work harder, filtration systems have to work harder, because to maintain that muscle mass you have to train, and a lot of those breakdown of tissues makes things have to filter more. So there's a line, and the older you get, the line gets smaller. So it's not that people can't be leaner and stronger. I'm going to make a post later on my Instagram, and if you go to my website, you can see some results of people that I wouldn't say are in their prime. They're looking way better. They're in way better shape than they were even when they were younger. But it's a more difficult equation, as you get older. And so, you don't have hormones in your favor, recovery or lifestyle stuff like family and job is not in your favor. And that's why most people just kind of throw their hands up in the air and go for a Hail Mary, on the health, and then just run on genetics. It's not real good. I think if I wouldn't have been involved in fitness and strength training, I'm not sure that I would even still be around today, just based on the fact of my dad's genetic side. I'm already 3 years older than my dad was when he passed away, and closing in on when my grandfather passed away. Now that we had different lifestyles, but do you think we can ever achieve the same level of fitness in the general population as we had in the past when people engaged in more exercise? General population. I think that's going to have to start the elementary and high school level. I think the first thing, like I just talked about, the first thing that people cut in budgets are physical fitness, right? You don't see kids having as many gym classes. I think because of commercials and because of other things like that, you get more freak kids showing up doing crazy things, and then it gives the population a sense that we're more athletic than we were. But in general, we're not. We see more high-level baseball players and basketball players because it's on TV and cable and movies, etc. But if you look at the general population, the average strength and fitness level is probably less than it was 50 years ago. Do you have any idea for getting better at holding torso position on a squat with a long femur as a leg power? Yeah, that's usually a big problem for everybody, honestly, unless they have a really short torso. Long femur is a very difficult thing to overcome, but it is possible with certain technique. I've seen guys with really long femurs but perfect form do really well. But that's the big thing. If you guys can, I know we've got 14 people watching, hit the like button. I'd like to get these lives a little bit more exposure. Let's see. Yeah, not because of leg power. A lot of times the long femur will change your technique and make you have to do things that the body doesn't want to do. So there's a technique that you can use to shorten your femur length, which I know sounds crazy, but it's possible. So what I would do is, if you can, practice, Lars does fitness, practice what alternative strength coach is teaching you, and if you still have issues with that, let me know and I'll do an assessment on you and I can teach you some stuff on maybe some ways to get that a little bit better. That seminar we just had in Toronto, I did a bunch of one-on-one assessments with people before and after the seminar, and multiple people broke PRs. And one guy was not really built to squat and squatted a really big weight, I think around a 20-pound PR, within like a half an hour. So, but back to the general population, I think that, we need to hold it into a higher regard. We need to have fitness levels higher in the general population. But the problem is, if you look at the stats, 85+% of the workforce now is at sit-down desk jobs. So with that being said, it's difficult because most people's daily caloric burn is so much lower than it was 50, 60 years ago when most people had more of a manual labor job, or at least, a moving job. And now with computers and everything else, people don't move as much. I think one of the biggest things that we could probably do to fix, and it sounds crazy because I probably would have never said this 10 years ago, but if most people had like walking stations at their desks at work, I think we could probably lower the health problems by, just guessing, to at least 20%, just because we're moving more, right? And what I like about walking, and a lot of people, you don't hear people talking about this is why you see me walking. Sometimes people ask, well, why aren't you running? Why aren't you doing this? Walking, in my opinion, doesn't stimulate hunger. I don't know what you mean by that, Trent Clayson. Have to be largely intentional. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean, Trent, but I think, what I have always found is that if I walk more, my appetite doesn't change. But if I start doing stuff that's more intensive, I start knowing my appetite goes crazy. Yeah, the spreading the floor cue is definitely a big deal. Yeah, definitely. That helps a bunch. I first learned that from Chuck Vogelpool, which was my training partner for a long time. Yeah, I think the structured exercise time is definitely a necessity in this type of workforce now. I definitely think that for sure. But I think if people can't change their jobs, I think that if you you can have a desk where you can stand and walk while you're typing, maybe not at the speed I'm going right now or the incline I'm going right now. But if you're doing it something where you're getting 10, 12,000 steps in a day while you're at work, I think that could help tremendously with this. I'm talking overall population. Low intensity elliptical is good as well. The trick with cardio is, in my opinion, is selecting exercises that are low impact. You're selecting exercises that are allowing you to sustain a certain heart rate. So, heard Lyle McDonald say similar things. Yeah, I don't know who that is, but I'm sure If he's saying the same things I am, then he's probably reading and researching some of the same stuff I am or has similar experiences. But I personally believe that health benefit-wise, cardiovascular training, if you're doing cardiovascular on top of resistance training, I think your heart rate needs to be around 120, 125. I think if you can maintain that heart rate for, 90 minutes a week, and I'm just making an assumption, I think that's good. Can't wait anymore. You can't wait anymore, Derek. Shit, I can't wait anymore either. It's funny you talk about the book. I actually got an email from Human Kinetics yesterday, and they've got more chapters edited, so I'm supposed to final revise those chapters. I don't know how many they're going to turn into me. So we should be, if I'm guessing from the past, we should be about chapter 7, chapter 8, which means we're about 3/4 of the way through the editing process, which took way longer than I thought it would, but they're doing a really good job of making the paragraphs perfect and the spacing and all of that, because when I went to town on that book, I wrote it like I would write, not a manual, but, to put it in a hardback text format. And then they wanted to check, obviously all the references, which was close to 1,100, I believe. So that was a lot of reading. I got about 3.5 years into that book. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the book too, for sure, guys. I think you guys will see a lot of really good information in there. Pre-editing, I put a lot of sample workouts in there, not obviously long ones, but like my mindset of when you do what for different populations. So I put a little bit of special forces in there, a little bit of powerlifting, a little bit of, I'd have to go back and look now, fire department, tactical, places that I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on. Oh, thanks, Tanis. I appreciate it, man. Thoughts on Dan John's easy strength? Dan John, although I don't personally know him, I think that he's pretty damn smart. From the small things that I've seen on him, he's always talking about optimal. And anybody that talks about optimal, in my opinion, is a really, really solid piece of advice. Because we have so many people, and I even have friends that do the same thing. We have so many people that, push intensity and think that injuries are badges of honor. So if I were to put together a physical education curriculum, well, the first thing I would do is I would look up a lot of the child development books that I have on physical fitness. So the first thing you want to do is, kids don't understand like regimented fitness tasks. So you have to make things kind of games. So elementary school up to 5th, 6th, 7th grade would be more like fun tasks that require, agility, coordination, mobility, some forms of body weight strength. Those things are going to be very important for the first 5 to 7 years. Then after that, you would go into, I wouldn't say more specific stuff, but you would go into more sport training. Like if you look at a lot of the old developmental books, and they talk about tumbling, gymnastics, grappling, jiu-jitsu when you're younger, just to have strength, coordination, rotational skills, balance. Judo would be another great one as a kid, for sure. Putting kids and stuff like that. And then, as you start seeing what their strengths and weaknesses are, you start to apply a different approach slightly, not drastically. And I think that's where we screw up so much in America, is we try to specify. If you were to look into my messages on different platforms, people like I or my son or my daughter plays this sport, what should I do? And some of the first information that comes back is trying to find out what the structured weaknesses or shortcomings of the athlete are. You might have an athlete that's ultra powerful but has no endurance. You might need to have a little bit more of an endurance balance just to get everything, the base of the pyramid built, depending on age. The other thing you would look at is You probably wouldn't introduce barbells until, I would say, I got introduced to barbells at 12 and a half, but I was a very structured kid, I'd say almost OCD. I think that might be a little too young. I think that if I would have gotten introduced to barbells at 13, 14, so if you go on the website, I have a child development manual. So a lot of that would be what I would do. Any thoughts on Ray Peat diet and bioenergetics? I don't know much about that. The stuff that I do for like bioprinting and like dieting is a hybrid between what Stan Effering talks about with vertical diet and what Charles Poliquin talks about in the old metabolic classes that I took from. So if you guys can, hit the like button for me. So we do a live Q&A on very in-depth topics at 4 p.m. Eastern on Patreon. What do you eat before lifting? Usually have a Pop-Tart. I don't eat anything that's like junk or processed. Usually before training, I will take, because right now my carbs are pretty low, I'll take Pentacarb from ATP, which is a 5 blend carbohydrate. I'll take that at about 50 grams just to give me some energy. I'm not sure about people using optimal buzzwords. Sound like an easy way to be manipulated, or worse, someone get discouraged and stop exercising because their body has limitations. Yeah, buzzwords can be tough, and I think YouTube kind of ruined that for everybody because, YouTube algorithm looks for buzzwords and looks for catchy slangs and things like that, because just like the news, right, is like everybody wants to have exposure, good or bad, and that's the problem with a lot of things, right? And so that's what's kind of hurt the overall population and everything, but also especially the fitness industry, right? As everybody's looking for that little piece of the puzzle, and you got a lot of people talking. That maybe just don't have the investment, either in education or time training to really have an opinion. And that can be harsh, but I think it's just kind of a selective thing, like I always tell people, like, in my opinion, like, if you've been training really hard for 20 years, you've went and got undergraduate or graduate level degrees, I think that you start to have a little bit more of a reputation for what you're doing. And then experience level, right? Can you make a lot of different types of populations good? So yeah, that's my thought process on it. But yeah, I'm definitely not a big fan of the buzzwords either, for sure. Ever going to hold a powerlifting comp at your gym? That's a good question. I thought about it. My gym is not real big. It's only about 3,300 square feet. So I never wanted to pack it in there, but I thought about it, maybe having a Wenning invitational. But there's so many good people that run so good meets now that, to me, it's kind of, I've always been a meet doer, not a meet promoter or a meet holder. So for me, it's like, I might be too much of a perfectionist as far as getting everything situated, make sure people have a good time, things like that. So, but yeah, so where do all these people meet promoter? You guys are fucking ridiculous. So, yeah, so what I would say is just try to get steps in a day, and we've had a lot of really good weight loss clients at the gym. If you go to the website, you can see some of the pictures before and afters of people that I just have them walk every day, a certain amount, have them lift weights, and then have them calculate dieting, and they're good, So for me, moving over to more of the general population and the people that really could use the advice is just a far bigger landscape, and it's also just much more fulfilling to me. I think what you find now is powerlifting's kind of become, let's go find the Bo Jacksons instead of let's train smart. That's why you see guys retiring in powerlifting at 24, 25. Ankle sprains, yeah, that's a big one. What are your thoughts on USPA open up powerlifting for 10? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that mass strength conditioning. At 10, 12 years old is a really good idea to have overbearing parents pushing their kids too fast, too hard. Not that I think the age is a problem. I think the cognitive ability for technique, because as you know, how many 10-year-olds have you ever seen that have good form with training? And the answer is not very many, hardly any at all. You see a lot of bad technical issues. So I think that maxing at that age is probably not the best idea. So I'm not really a big fan of that at all. No, absolutely. And I think what you're going to see is a lot of kids, by the time they're out of high school, are going to be so burned out from powerlifting when they're actually in their prime, they're never really going to see their true potential. Because most parents and coaches are doing things a lot of times for self-fulfillment versus the kid. Yeah, you can sure come up to the gym, man. Just pay the daily fee to train with us, Alan, and private message me on Instagram or on the website, and we'll talk. How do you approach fat loss for people in work construction? That usually becomes all diet issue, for sure. All diet issue. So what you want to do is you want to calculate a lean mass number, then you want to get a caloric number, then a protein number, then you want to break that down into meals and then start kind of weighing out your food. That's what we do with the bioprinting and the metabolic analytics at the gym. So AW, if you want to come in, I can line you up with all that stuff. Well, I think that's pretty good for a live today. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, I don't know. I'll talk to Dave about the podcast. I've been so busy with everything right now, it's hard to get away and get over there, but I need to get over there. Yeah, I appreciate you guys too, man. It's awesome you guys are listening in. I appreciate you guys hitting the thumbs up, helping out. Makes me feel like I'm doing this for a reason. So hopefully I'll see you guys at winningstrength.com. Like I said, if you can, come on Patreon. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I've been doing cardio for a couple of years. I just try to get steps in. Try to get so many steps in every week. It seems to be helping with everything. So talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you.